Hey, my name is Patterson Kannon. I'm a senior here at Presbyterian College studying business administration with a concentration in accounting. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Paul Klein. Paul is a graduate of PC and a senior accountant of a accounting firm not too far down the road from here, Love Bailey. How are you, Paul?
Hey, doing great. How are you doing, Patterson?
Doing well myself. The first question I got for you is how was your PC experience and how did your education prepare you for the career path that you chose?
Definitely. Well, the funny story is I graduated PC, let's see, 2011. So I just dated myself for it. But while I was in school, I chose the accounting path, realized in college, I don't like this. I just want to graduate. Accounting is not for me. So fast forward 4 years, 5 years after graduated, met a pretty girl, and needed to get married, needed to buy a ring, needed a career. So I got hooked up with an accountant in Lawrence, started really back at square one, which was like, what is a debit? Okay, what is a credit? So started at the beginning, but quickly, I think the PC education things from 4 and 5 years ago kicked in, and overall, man, I couldn't be more pleased with my education, my time at PC. I had a ton of fun, had great teachers. I played soccer at PC. I grew a ton in my Christian faith while at PC. So I felt really well prepared, but it was just funny, 4 or 5 years later, going back to a career path that I never thought I would do. And so the gears started spinning, but it took a little bit of time, I think, for that to click in.
Of course. Well, you mentioned you work for an accounting firm. What kind of company is Love Bailey? Tell us a little bit more about that and what are your responsibilities there?
Sure. So Love Bailey is a public accounting firm. We're about 10 years old. We're right in downtown Lawrence. We're right off the square. So it's a couple minutes from PC. We got about 10 to 11 business professionals. So CPAs, accounting, bookkeeping professionals. And we've specialized, I guess, like a lot of accounting firms, we've specialized in a few major areas. One is your attestation, so like audit reviews. Um,
Yes.
we specialize in nonprofit and government audits. So government, think towns, cities, um, think counties, think public utility, any government entity we specialize in. I don't do any of that. I'm on the tax and business services side of things. Those are our other two, I guess, components of our firm. And historically, those were separate things. And now I've kind of taken over the tax and business services side, and we've kind of put them into one package. It's kind of a consulting advisory model. So, maybe a couple of years ago, a client would come in, hey, do my tax return. And I would say, hey, this is what you owe, and here's your bill. And nowadays, with clients come in and we're building strategic relationships with clients, we're giving them consulting advice. That would be um, finances, that could be tax, all kind of bundled together to help clients achieve the goals.
Of course. Well, you mentioned just recently about the consulting side. Paul, how do you prepare yourself before you meet with a client? And are there any strategies that you use during?
Sure. So, best game plan, best preparation that any financial expert can have is knowledge. And that is accumulated over time. That's education, training, experience. Because at the end of the day, I don't know who's going to walk in the door. I don't know who's going to call me. I don't know what kind of questions I'm going to be asking. So, having a sound knowledge base is obviously you're going to be your best friend when it comes to just talking with all sorts of different kinds of individuals. However, when we do get new clients, they come in the door and I have a second to prepare. I ask them for old tax returns, old financial statements. I want to get a picture of really their operations, finances from prior years. And then I would say the best thing we can do when a client comes in is ask questions. So two kind of broad areas of questions we like to ask would be number one, what are your pain points? So in other words, if someone's coming in my door, they want to sit down and talk to me, they're coming from somewhere, right? So they've probably had a bad relationship with a financial expert or even just with former accountants, or maybe they just have problems in their businesses that need to be addressed. There's a reason why they're walking in the door, right?
Yeah.
We've got to figure out what that is. And secondly, I want to know where you're going. So what are your goals so that we can help formulate financial strategies to help them get there?
Of course. Seems like asking the right questions is always the best way to find the right answer.
Yes.
I think most people, when they think of accounting, they think that you sit at a desk all day and crunch numbers. And I'm sure there's plenty of that. But, you mentioned yet you meet with clients and you talk to them about, again, their goals and what they want to prepare for. So what kind of challenges has COVID-19 brought to that aspect of accounting, and how have you overcome them?
Sure. I think like any business or many businesses, we have seen some slowdown in our traditional business. However, kind of oddly enough, while some business was slowing down for us, we actually saw this crazy uptick in new business. And that came from all of the tax law that was thrown out and actually financial relief law that was thrown out. So you may have heard of the CARES Act. Part of that was the payroll protection program, funds that were being offered to small businesses to keep the doors open. Well, when this law was passed, somebody had to read it, somebody had to understand it, and somebody had to tell clients what it meant and how they were going to use these funds to offset maybe some losses they incurred during the COVID months. And so I spent a lot of time reading that law, interpreting it, and then explaining it to clients, banks, and other professionals. And so actually, in a weird way, it kind of helps solidify some of our business relationships. And hopefully, in the back end, we'll see some growth come out of it. And then, of course, we're doing the weird thing everybody else is doing. We're doing virtual stuff. I'm talking to people on the phone more than meeting them in person, probably doing Zoom meetings, stuff like that.
All that good stuff. Yeah.
Dealing with technology.
There you go. What you've been in the industry for a while now, what is the best attribute one would need to be a successful tax accountant?
Sure. So it's funny you ask because I think the historical stereotype of the CPA is I love numbers and I don't love people, right?
Yeah.
So sit in my little room and crunch numbers all day is kind of my thing. But because of technology, computers are really doing a lot of that informational input and output. It's even compiling data, and you've probably heard of data analytics, stuff like that. So technology is doing so much of that hard work for you. And so the CPA nowadays has to be gifted at interpreting the data and communicating it to a host of different kinds of people in a clear, compelling manner. So that's huge, communication skills. Secondly, integrity. I think the CPA profession has long and continues to be a trusted profession. And so we've got to keep it that way. And so, for example, clients come in all the time and meet a client, somebody who's new to our office, they had some problems in the past, and I asked that question, what are your pain points? Well, instead instead of sitting down and giving me a 5-minute explanation of this is wrong, I need to change this, making it a whole life story. And think about this, I work in downtown Lawrence. And so Clinton, Lawrence, Anderson, Greenwood, Greenville, you know, the upstate, got lots of clients locally, and they trust us to keep what they tell us confidential. And oftentimes they're sharing things with us that maybe they'd only share to maybe an attorney or maybe some other type of protected or private relationship. And so we're trusted with a lot of things, and it's important for us to give them honest advice and to keep the information private. So integrity is key.
Mm-hmm. All right. Last question here, Paul. What advice would you have for a graduating student who wants to go into the field of accounting?
Sure. Well, I just think you're blessed, one, to have a degree from PC. So I think you're going to be ahead of the game when it comes to going to grad school, maybe sitting for your CPA exam. So I'm thankful for my time at PC. So I think, one, you're in a good place with your PC. Two, I would say do it quickly. I did it the long way. I didn't know what I was going to do. I went back to school and kind of went at it through the back door, I guess you could say. But I would say do it quickly. Get all that stuff out of the way. Go to grad school. Get your CPA. Do it quickly. The CPA, and it's just a needed profession. And I think it's only going to continue to grow. I'll say thirdly, though, know what you're getting into. So maybe that means you intern at a few places. We've been happy with our interns, a few of them.
Yeah.
So some of them are better than others. But our interns have been great. But I would say, you know, we'd love to have more interns, but know that if you're interviewing with a place like Love Bailey, if that's what you maybe in a small firm, that's probably not going to be your real experience. Real life experience as a CPA is graduating, going to grad school, getting signed by a big firm, and it's a job world. So know it's tough. And then lastly, advice I would give anybody, doesn't matter what your profession is to follow the Lord. So Jesus says in Matthew, what is the profit of man if he gains the whole world but forfeits his soul? And as an accountant, that really resonates. I love profit. I love making money. I love making money for the people. Dollar signs make me happy. But what's it all worth if in doing so I forfeited a relationship with Christ and forfeited eternity? And so I would think about those things first and foremost, and then let the rest take care of itself.
There you go. There you go. Well, Paul, that's all the questions I have for you today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with me for a little bit. And I wish you the best at Love Bailey.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.